So today we will talk about the cultural aspect of BPD. BPD in India, that is, to be precise, because I am from India, and I wanted to talk about how it is here, as in response to a question asked by redditor. As for how it is here, I would say the stigma here is equal, or maybe even a bit more than what happens in the US. To be, since in the US there might be a bit more occurrence of this disorder, more um, more diagnosis of this disorder, to be precise, as compared to hair. The reason being that mental health is more, not more accessible, I would say, but yeah, the awareness there is more as compared to hair. Their awareness and stigma are two different terms, I would like to say. Awareness means how you knowledgeable you are uh, about these things, about mental health and all. And stigma is like avoiding the fact that you have or do not have disorder, not even talking about it, just brushing it aside. So we do that a lot here. We do tend to do that a lot here. People who have not heard about, who have not experienced it, who have not heard about it, totally they totally refuse to believe that such disorders exist, and such people exist who have these problems daily in their lives, which is quite disheartening. So moving forward, when I started researching about this problem online, I came across some things that quite shocked me. Came across a PubMed article on BPD in India, and it was quite technical, something which a person wouldn't read in normal circumstances unless they were researching about BPD specifically. This broke my heart, as everyone of us, whether they are psychology student or not, whether they are research graduate or not, we all deserve to have the correct sources of information on BPD to us, so that we can spread it. Everyone needs to hear about it, and everyone should hear about it. That's what I feel. And second is, I heard about BPD humans. It's a movement for, it's a community, I should say, for those with BPD, and it's doing quite well. Its work is quite impressive. It is also started by two Indian graduates with BPD, and their story was the same as just mine. Even though I was a psychology graduate, I was doing psychology when I was diagnosed, and I still had no idea about it. They were the same, not exactly psychology graduates, but they were the same in the sense that just like I was doing my own shit and not able to do anything at all, but still trying and trying and trying. And finally, I was one day diagnosed with BPD, and then I get a shock that, oh my god, what is it? What kind of a disorder is it? And so were they. They had no idea about BPD before they were diagnosed with it. Their stories and mine are quite similar, and I would say that this story about not knowing anything about this disorder before being diagnosed with it is quite a recurring story. We don't have the awareness that we need to spread throughout the world about this disorder. This disorder is called one of the most painful mental health disorders. Reason being that I don't know the reason, but for me the reason is that it does not qualify you as insane, which is a wrong term to use. Of course, it is an outdated term, but still you have to suffer a lot just to keep your normal jobs. You have to lead your normal lives without any help from anyone else. In other disorders like autism, schizophrenia, sometimes you do get the support of the government in the form of monetary aid, but for this disorder you have nothing, which is quite painful to bear. Of course, I'm not saying that we should all sit at home and do nothing, but a good support system is all we need. We don't even need the money. all we need is all we need is a good support system through the use of through the spread of knowledge that we have about BPD to the other people who don't know about BPD but might have it. And even if they don't have it, they should know about BPD because we have BPD, and because they should know how to not deal with us, but how to behave with us, how to help us so that we can come out of it. The major problem with BPD is like we don't know how to help such people. We don't know how to help people with BPD, which is quite unfortunate since a lot of people suffer from BPD. 17,000 is the number for India, and I have met people with BPD, and it was quite disheartening to see what they were doing for attention. Apparently, attention. The behavior was called attention seeking by the doctor who was diagnosing them as BPD, which is quite unfortunate. It might be attention seeking, but it's because that you are not giving them the attention that you should give, and that's the reason why they are attention seeking. As for the cultural, so another thing that I really wanted to talk about was the occurrence of BPD and how it happens in India. So I have not done any scientific study on it, but I have my own personal experience I am counting it from, and I think that most of the people will agree with it. So basically, our childhood in India is not a very sweet or very careful one. There's no such there's no such established child help services that I know of who help children who when their parents are being violent, because the parents are conditioned to believe that the amount of discipline the child has, you have to beat them for it. So basically, the more you beat the child, the more disciplined the child becomes, which is completely wrong. This is nothing but a form of neglect that you are giving to the child. This is nothing but a form of abuse that they are going to carry the trauma of throughout their lives. Of course, it wasn't true 100 years back, but now it is becoming more and more true with the stress of the studies becoming more and more. The competition is becoming so much. There are 11 lakh students competing for 20,000 seats. There's no sense to this fact. There is no sense. What does 11 lakh mean for you? It means almost 1 million. This is no sense. This makes no sense. And then on top of the competition, on top of the thing that they are facing, you, instead of encouraging them, instead of being positive for them, you are beating them. That does not make sense, and that does not even help the student. In fact, it discourages the student. It shows them that they are not worth what they are doing. Their worth is not dependent on them. It makes it dependent on their performance in the exams, their performance in the school, their performance in the college, the performance in life. And as a result of this, they have no self-esteem of their own, which is completely wrong. We need to change this thing. We definitely need to work on it. We cannot let this go as it is going. And going back towards my childhood even more deeper, before I entered school even, I had a lot of domestic violence at home. Most people do not report these incidents here, and I was affected very much by it. I'm sorry for the pauses. If that bothers you, you might skip the pauses, but these pauses are a way of me remembering the things that happened in the past. So basically, what I want to say is, we have to be more careful of what we are doing, of our actions. We need to be made aware of the consequences that our actions have on the future generations. We don't want to make sure that our generations carry forward our trauma, our parents' trauma. We need to stop the cycle somewhere, basically. Even if it is us, we have to take the first step. My childhood was filled with neglect, and this neglect is what forms the basis of BPD. It's not the same case now. My parents are quite understanding now, but for then, it did give me a lifelong BPD. And I would like to talk about how one of my teachers told me, psychology teachers who taught me abnormal psychology, that men are more often diagnosed with BPD in our country than women. I saw the case on the internet that they say the opposite, but for her, maybe her age, like maybe her times, in her times, it was the case. And that might have been the case because more people take care of men when they are not diagnosed, when they are not doing anything, when they cannot do anything, than women. Women are supposed to be in the house for us, like not for us, but for most of the households. And even if they do lag behind in some areas, they're beaten till they start doing the things. But for men, they're supposed to work. If they don't work, if there is something wrong with them, they are immediately taken to the doctor. That is not the case for women here. The women can keep struggling, they can keep fighting with herself, but nobody cares till it's a very, very serious matter. And the last thing that I want to say is that the last thing that I want to say is that I'm so sorry for the background noises. I still remember when I narrated my childhood to a doctor, and all they had to say after it was, "This is normal for Indian household." I was like, "What the fuck? What the actual fuck? How can you say that to me?" After I have opened about my own life story with you, after you have seen my face, after you know my identity, and all you have to say is it's normal for a household. That's not the way to treat. That doctor was very, very wrong, and also, of course, unnecessary for me to say, but that doctor did not help me to get better at all. Avoid bad doctors. If in India, whether it's somewhere else, just avoid bad doctors. I know I've deviated quite a bit from the topic in this video, but I hope that I answered all your questions. If you do have another question, just feel free to drop it in the comment section. If you have any other remarks, just drop it in the comment section. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you don't, and subscribe to my channel for more. Thank you.